This video is to parse data out of a string using substring and char index to basically use a comma delimited list and put it into different fields. Now sometimes either as a bulk insert or when you get data from different fields, you will get something that is value, comma, value, comma, value, comma, value, and so on. So there are multiple fields in this within one string. So this is one varchar, one long varchar with all the commas and everything in it. Now there are two basic ways that this is done. The first one is if you have multiple fields in a grid or something like that that comes up with the same value, so you basically want each of these values in its own record, you will use a while statement to basically take this value, then that value, then that value, then that value, and put it into a string. This is necessary. This happens when you use a grid or a table with a bunch of edit boxes in it, or you have another way that you've got multiple values that are returned to you. The other way that this can be valuable is when you use a bulk insert, and this is actually field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4. And that's going to come basically give you each one of these as a separate field. And for that you can do it as a single SQL statement, or you can do it also as a while statement to update each field individually. So let's first look at the bulk insert process. So in my data here, I have basically field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4. Now, the principle of a comma delimited list, and that comma can be anything. It can be a pipe character, it can be a tilde, or whatever character you want to use to delimit it. But for the exercise, we're going to use the comma. So, for the purpose of any comma delimited list, these are not fixed values, they're fixed lengths. They are usually variable lengths and different types. So you want to be able to find the next one, and that you do using the char index function. So the char index function basically says look for this in that. Okay. So it basically says find for me this character, the position of this character in that variable. So char index, it's 1 based, so the first character is always number 1. If it doesn't find that character, it's going to return a 0. So if we, for instance, have the word hello and then a comma and how are you today, there's my list. Okay, that's a comma there. Okay, so if I do a char index of a comma in my string over there, it will find the first instance of a comma in there, which is over there. It will give me the value of 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The position of that comma is position number 6. So if I want to find only the first word in here, I will basically say, so I will get the substring of my variable, and I want to start at 1, and I want to find the word hello, so up until the first comma. So I'm going to say the char index of the comma in var. Okay, the problem is that's going to give me number 6, so I want to do it -1. So my substring, from which string I want to do, where do I want to start, how many characters do I want to do this for. So what it's going to do is it's going to say start at number 1 and give me the char index of comma, which is 6 -1, so it gives me 5 characters, and that's basically going to give me my word hello. Now when I need to look at the second one, it starts getting tricky because char index is always just going to give me the first one that it gets to. So what I usually then do, so I have my field 1 equals my substring of that. Now I want to eliminate that out of it to get my second one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my variable is now actually the substring of my variable from my comma onwards. So I'm basically going to say, I've now got that out of it there, so I want my string to only remain with that at the end of it. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to say, start with my substring. Not substring, sorry. Start with my char index of my comma of my variable, but now I want +1. So it's basically the one after it, the position. So not from 6, I want it from 7. That's where I want to start. And then I want to have everything of my variable thereafter. So I'm just saying, for however long my variable is, give me as long as that is to that. Now SQL is quite clever. If I give it more characters than is actually in, it won't add spaces or anything like that. It'll just give me where it ends. The main thing is I don't want to make it less, because if I make it less and I start losing characters at the end, I'm going to have a problem when I get to the last one. So this will give me my first field in my list. So if I want my second field, I will basically do the same, and I'll just copy that across and put it there, because that's then going to give me my second field. And I'm going to set my var, and remember it's set every time, just for the sake of completeness. Set my variable again to whatever that is, and then I'm going to do my field 3 with my substring, set my variable to whatever's left until I've got my last value. And at the end of it, once I've got that, I'm going to set my field 4 equals to my variable, because there's no more commas. I can just do it like that. So now I've got all my fields, and I can do with that fields whatever I want to. I can insert it or whatever the case might be. Now, in a case of having these in multiple fields, we will put this entire thing inside of a cursor. Or if you've got few enough fields, you can basically combine these into one single SQL statement. It just gets extremely cumbersome if you have too many fields. If you've got 2 or 3, it's fine. You can do it in one select or one update statement or insert statement. Because remember now, to be able to do field number 3, you have to put this, so your new var becomes this entire string. So you have to put a string inside of a string. So if I basically say to do function 2, I need to do the whole var string in for every var instruction. So I'll have substring, and instead of var, I'll have substring of var char index -1 len. And so I have to replace this, or the var there, with this entire string, otherwise I don't get the value before that. So you can do it in a single statement if you want to. Alternatively, just put this entire thing in a cursor, so row by row, it brings out var as your string, and then you insert your values as you've got them into your database, or update it, or do whatever you needed to do with your values of your fields. So this is how you will do it for a bulk insert, where you've got those values. Alternatively, if you have a bunch of fields that you are importing, so this is not field 1, field 2, field 3, this is record 1, record 2, record 3, record 4. So now it is all the same field, but it is in different records in your database. So we've given him a grid or something where you can fill in all his details and save all at once, and we're going to have to take that apart now. So with that, we will do it in a while statement, because what we want to do is we want to do it for each of these records. We want to do it individually, so we want to repeat the process for each record. So here we will say while char index of the comma in my variable is greater than 0. So I will do this while there is values to do. So here, exactly the same thing. I will set my value equals my substring of the var of the char index comma of my var minus 1, oops, sorry, that'll be 1 comma, so there we go. So basically I will say my variable is everything up until the first comma. I'll set my var is the substring of the var, and here I'll do the char index of the comma of the var plus 1 and the length of var. Okay, so basically this will then set. Okay, so this will do the entire thing we did before, but it will basically do it and take that value out, and that will be my remaining value. And then I do my update or my insert or whatever on this value that I've just got. So depending on what I want to do with it, and it will repeat until I don't have any more commas left. Something to remember that is that I'll have R4 still in there as a value without any commas in it. Now there's two ways to handle that. The first thing to do is after my while, I just repeat this instruction, which is okay, but when you start bug fixing and stuff like that, often what happens is we fix this and we never fix the second instance of it because we forget there is a second one of it. The best way to actually handle this is before I start my while, before that I just say I just add a comma at the end. So what that will do is it will add a comma into my string there, so it'll do it for every value, and when there's no more commas, there's no more values, and it'll basically complete it. Now, often when you have got a grid like this, you've got more than one variable with these values in it. So one will be a value with your IDs in it, another one will be the value that the person entered, and so on. So what you'll do is you'll repeat this for every variable so that you make sure your commas align, or your whatever your terminator is aligns with it. And because typically what would happen is I will have a grid with an ID as a hidden field and an edit box as the value that the person puts in. So I'll have my ID and my value. I'll do this repeated for the value or the ID, and then I'll put it update my table set the value equals my add value, where the ID equals my add ID, to just make sure that they work in line, that all the commas align. That doesn't apply with bulk insert where you've got different fields in the values. And that is basically how you will parse your data, split it up into different portions.